when you think about the car industry, you probably still think about, well, welding metal, building power trains, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Calculating torque, the complexity was all physical.
But today, that has fundamentally completely shifted.
Hmm.
A modern car isn't just a machine anymore.
No, it's an intelligent, connected digital transportation hub. That's the new reality.
And what does that mean in practice?
It means we've gone from pure mechanics to pure computing. A modern connected car, or a CC as the industry calls it, is run by hundreds of electronic control units.
ECUs, right?
And it runs on well over 100 million lines of code.
100 million. That puts your family sedan in the same league as, like, a military
It
aircraft.
does, and the immediate consequence of all that digital complexity is, well, inevitable.
Bugs.
Bugs, a high likelihood of software bugs. And when a safety critical issue pops up, the OEMs, the manufacturers, have to recall entire fleets.
And that's the old painful process we all know. Registered mail, scheduling appointments, a huge headache.
It's immensely costly for them, and it absolutely crushes customer satisfaction and brand image.
But the solution is here, and it's called over-the-air updates, OTA.
Right. It lets them patch software remotely over a wireless network, often while the car's just sitting in your driveway.
And for the car companies, the savings are already known, and they are massive. We're talking estimates of over $35 billion a year for the global industry.
A staggering figure it is. But what was really missing, from the research was the value for you, for the actual owner of the car.
So not the corporate savings, but the consumer's benefit.
Exactly. We had all this data on OEM cost avoidance, but a huge gap in measuring the economic benefit to you, the consumer, especially when it comes to a safety recall.
That's fascinating.
So that's our mission for this deep dive. We're unpacking a study that actually modeled this experience to put a precise dollar value, or euro value in this case, on what that OTA convenience is worth to your wallet.
Okay, let's start with that traditional experience then, the one every car owner dreads. It starts with that letter, right?
That registered mail notice, yeah. It tells you there's a defect and you have to physically bring your car to the workshop. That friction, that inconvenience, is exactly what this research set out to measure.
And the model breaks it down into two possible journeys for a car owner without OTA.
It does, and it all depends on one thing: how long the update takes.
So walk us through those two cases.
Okay, so case one is the best case scenario, really. If the service time is short, let's say under 2 hours, the owner just waits nearby.
Annoying, but manageable.
Exactly. Minimal friction. But case two, that's the one we all dread.
That's the one that ruins your day.
Completely. Case two happens when the service time is longer. Maybe the update is just really complex, but more often it's because of dealership bottlenecks, huge queues during a mass recall.
High friction scenario.
That's it. So you have to drop the car off, find some other way to get home, and then travel all the way back to the dealership later to pick it up.
Let's just focus on the logistics of that for a second, because that's where time really becomes money. You're talking about 4 separate trips.
4, just for one software bug.
So you drive the car to drop it off, that's 1.
Then you take a bus, a train, a taxi, whatever, to get back home, that's 2.
Then you have to repeat that journey to go back to the dealership. 3.
And finally, trip number 4 is you driving your updated car home. And the research modeled this exact sequence because it represents the highest possible cost of inconvenience.
Which brings us right to quantifying that cost. How do you put a price on that?
Well, the economic model calculates the total cost for you, the consumer, and it's made up of 2 main parts: the cost related to a potential accident and the cost of the recall operation itself.
Okay, and what's fascinating is that even though this is a safety recall, the accident cost is surprisingly small.
It's negligible, actually.
How can that be? A safety recall sounds serious.
The fault can be serious, but the model calculates the probability of an accident happening because of that specific fault before you can get the update as extremely low.
So what kind of number are we talking about?
In the scenarios they validated, it was just 0.01%. So the real financial hit, the real driver of the cost to you, isn't the risk of a crash.
It's the hassle.
It's the physical recall process
Yeah.
and the loss of your time. That's the real expense.
So when we drill down into that recall operations cost, the researchers found the main expenses aren't even the obvious things, like gas money or a bus ticket.
That's the huge insight from this study. The biggest financial burdens are the value they assign to your lost time.
Okay.
So we're really looking at 2 things: the value of your time spent traveling and the value of your time spent just waiting. The actual service, of course, is free. The OEM pays for that.
It's the opportunity cost of your time.
Precisely. Let's define that, this value of time.
It sounds academic, but it's really a measure of your life being put on hold.
It is. So first, you have the value of lost driving time. This is the money you lose or the leisure you miss
Yeah.
because you're driving to the dealership instead of working or doing something else.
And the second part? The waiting.
That's the value of lost waiting time. It's calculated based on what your time is worth while you're sitting in the waiting room or just waiting for the call.
How do they measure that?
The model assumes that time is totally unproductive, so its value is tied directly to the average net hourly salary in the area they studied, which in this case was Milan. It's literally the income you couldn't earn.
And the findings on this are just stark.
Mm.
In the real-world scenarios, the biggest part of the entire recall cost was always that waiting time.
It wasn't just the biggest part, it was completely dominant. In the first scenario, that waiting time cost was 65% of the total.
Yeah, 2/3 of the cost is just waiting.
And in the second scenario, it was even higher. It accounted for 87% of your total financial loss.
87%. So the queue, the bottleneck at the dealership, that's where most of the money is lost.
Absolutely. The system is set up so your inconvenience is measured in lost time, and that time has a very high monetary value.
Now, what about the other part, the travel time? The variation there told a really interesting story about the OEM's infrastructure.
It did, yes. In scenario one, they looked at a smaller OEM with a pretty sparse dealer network. The average customer had to travel almost 4 kilometers.
And that cost?
The resulting travel time cost made up 32% of the consumer's total cost.
But for a bigger car company with more dealerships.
That was scenario two, a much larger OEM, a better network. The average travel distance dropped to just 1 kilometer.
And the travel cost dropped with it.
Dramatically. It was only 11% of the consumer's loss in that case. Which confirms, if you own a car from a brand with a less effective dealer network, the lack of a nearby shop significantly hikes up the price of your inconvenience.
So let's tie this all back to OTA. What does this mean for you when you can just skip that whole process?
It means you avoid that entire financial cost. The expected savings for you is equal to that full recall inconvenience cost we just discussed.
Okay, let's get to the numbers. What kind of savings are we talking about here?
Well, the total inconvenience cost for a consumer without OTA is consistently over 100 euros.
For just one recall?
For one recall event, yes. In the two scenarios tested, it was between about 103 and 147.
Okay, so let's say the OEM can fix, 30% of these issues remotely, which the study used as a baseline. What's the tangible saving?
The expected savings for you would be between about 30 and 44 euros per recall. But, and this is the key, if a recall is 100% fixable over the air,
Then you save the whole
you
amount.
save the full cost. That's up to 240 euros for a single event in that higher friction scenario. It's a clear, quantifiable return.
And this is where it gets really important, especially when you think about massive recalls, crisis situations. The research looked at the scale of the recall.
Yes, a sensitivity analysis. And the findings show the system just breaks down exponentially under stress.
What do you mean?
They found that as the number of recalled vehicles double, say, from 10,000 to 20,000, the cost to each consumer, and therefore your savings from OTA, grows almost exponentially,
How exponentially?
with a growth rate close to 300%.
Wait, hold on. So a 100% increase in recalled cars leads to a nearly 300% increase in my personal cost.
That's the multiplier effect.
Yeah.
This is maybe the most critical finding. OTA becomes exponentially more valuable precisely when the traditional dealership system is totally overwhelmed.
Because the lines get longer, the waiting time shoots up.
And waiting time is the most expensive part of the whole process.
Yeah.
It disproportionately inflates your cost.
There was also a related finding on the actual update time itself, wasn't there?
Yes. The model showed that as the software update duration increases, the time the car is actually plugged in, the total cost to you also increases more than proportionally.
So an OTA-enabled car just becomes more and more convenient the bigger the software fix is.
Exactly. The value of avoiding that physical process just keeps climbing.
Okay, so let's try and summarize the big takeaway here for you, the owner. This research really proves that OTA isn't just some cool tech or a way for car companies to save money.
No, it has a clear, quantifiable monetary value for you.
And that value, surprisingly, is not about saving on gas. It's about avoiding lost, unproductive time and the very high financial price tag that comes with that time during a safety recall.
The inconvenience has been priced. And while these savings of 100 up to €240 make a powerful case, it's important to remember that the model doesn't even capture the full picture.
What's missing?
The qualitative benefits. The study acknowledges these are significant, but they're hard to quantify.
Things like
Enhanced customer satisfaction, a drastically better end-user experience, maintaining brand loyalty. These are incredibly difficult to put a number on, but they're probably the most crucial things for an OEM in the long run.
the cost of your inconvenience today hits their bottom line tomorrow.
Precisely.
This definitely gives us a lot to think about. I guess the final thought is this. Given that the complexity of our cars, and therefore the frequency of software recalls, is only going up, how will OEMs manage customer loyalty when convenience, or the lack of it, can now be measured down to the very last euro? Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the true consumer cost of automotive inconvenience. If you found these insights useful and interesting, please be sure to follow the channel for more deep dives into the sources that shape our connected world.